Hey Mitch, got you some carburetors, I believe. This is the #1 carburetor with the backwards B9. Is it 183, 283, 283. And over here we got 62. Can't read it here. 62351. Anyway. These are your carburetors. Obviously you're not a matched set, but that's okay. It's common for these things to get replaced quite a bit. Let's go over a few things. First of all, we're going to be dealing with your idle mixture screws. We're going to be dealing with the idle jets. Going to be dealing with these little set screws down here. Setting your idle right here. And I think that's the basics. Also, we'll be dealing with your choke levers right here. In fact, these are one things you can adjust, a little bit of adjustment up and down, or actually you can adjust your screw and your jam nut in and out to raise and lower this lever to where these two levers will be in line with the choke cable coming down through the center. Check your choke cable first, just by pulling on it, maybe lubing it up with a bicycle handbrake cable or motorcycle handbrake cable lubing tool. And then you'll notice that when you put your cable down straight through here, you're trying to pull up straight up with the cable, yet these choke levers are trying to make an arc coming out, so all of a sudden it feels like it's binding up, and you just have to make sure everything is well lubed and make sure your chokes are working just fine, which these are. And one way you can, so let's go over some particulars beforehand. I'm going to put this back on non-macro and so I can get my hands free. Alright, when you install the carburetors, install the carburetors loose, and then you're going to want to install your air log so it goes on carburetors, and then since you'll still have a little bit of wiggle in the carburetors, you know, 1/4 inch up and down, left and right, that sort of thing. Once you get the air log in place, then snug down the carburetors to where they won't move and pull it off, because otherwise it is possible to install the carburetors as they kind of migrate down due to gravity, tighten everything up, and then this air log will not fit, and then you're not really happy. So install your air log, secure the carburetors to where they won't move when the air log comes off, and then snug them down the rest of the way. Set a 1/4 inch drive universals will really make your life a lot easier for getting up underneath there. And again, these are 1/4 inch drive. You don't need anything more stronger than this to snug down the carburetors, because they've got limits. They've got sleeves inside here with wave washers between the base of the carburetor and the sleeve, and those act as limit stops. So all you gotta do is snug these down to where the sleeve stops everything, and you're set. It just does not take that much pressure or that much torque. Another thing you want to be aware of is always secure and hold the fuel inlet while you wrench on the fuel line swivel fitting. Secure it so that you don't make the mistake of wrenching here and ripping out this fuel inlet. See, while we're here, another thing we'll do is I'll show you about a little bit trick on the choke. When the chokes are up like this, you should be able to just flip it like that, and that'll let you know that everything's fine. And you can do this when the carburetors are in the car. I have these tied together because this is your master choke lever right here, and this is a slave, and it'll flop around loose as the carburetors are operating. Fuel is absolutely critical. Fuel cleanliness is absolutely critical on these carburetors, so I always suggest people install an extra inline fuel filter after the factory fuel filter, but before the fuel pump. Just a regular old fuel filter like you get at auto parts store. I use AutoZone FF330, I guess, or 33, something like that. Very small steel inline. Don't forget your support rod down here. to support the carburetors and the airlog. There's way too much weight hanging off of these things. Let's see. Linkage, I'm going to have you taken care of on linkage, because we got you covered on the throttle cross shaft up here and the ball sockets, and I'll send you instructions on the adjustment of all the linkages. I'm trying to think what else I can mention. I guess we might as well start up some carburetors and show you about tuning them. Oh, also one thing, let's travel over here. Should have the original fuel pump on it. Anyway, all you want to do is make sure you got fuel up to the carburetors. And right now, for instance, there's no resistance right here because this is off the cam. So what you do is you crank the engine a little bit until you get resistance, and you can prime the carburetors. You'll need to do this probably if they sit for a week or two. Also make sure that the upstream of the fuel pump is all okay, and that would especially pertain to the fuel filter selector valve unit that has a rod that goes underneath the dash, and you can select a main tank or reserve. That has a small cork inside of it that has a tendency to dry out and will allow air to be drawn in there, and you'll lose prime, and you'll think it's the carburetors and it's the worst running car in the whole world. And all it is just a small cork about the size of a quarter. It needs to be changed. Okay, let's start some carburetors here. See what we got. Choke switch on. We can't tune these things until they get warmed up, and it's pretty hot out here, so it won't take long for them to warm up. Off the choke as soon as it runs nicely. Now we just start warming it up. I know one thing I was going to mention. These are the greatest thing since sliced bread. The synchrometer, the STE synchrometer. The one that you need is the BK 1 through 35 kilograms per hour. This thing right out of the box is perfect for the 190SL. What we're doing is waiting for the thermostat to open. There we go, temperature's dropping, thermostat's open. Now we can tune some carburetors. Alright, first thing you want to do is you want to tune these things independently of each other. There we go, a little bit better. You want to tune these things independently of each other, so that's to make sure that the linkage is not part of the problem, artificially keeping things open. But also make sure you don't let the carburetor run away with itself. Alright. Just like that. Now what we're going to do is use our synchrometer, and we're going to see how we're doing on the second barrel of each carburetor. We want 2 or less is ideal in terms of, well, you can't see that. Let's move the camera. There we go. Try that. Alright. So we keep this throttle closed, and we want to check our second barrels, make sure we're not pulling very much air. So that's 1.5 right there. Can you see this one? And move the camera. And over here we're pulling a little bit right at 2, and this actually will get down to below 2 by pushing on the counterweight on the second barrel. Those are still tight from machine work and from fitting, so that's going to wear in a little bit. Alright, so as long as those are closed, we can get a decent idle. Now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to check to see what we're actually pulling in terms of air. Now, obviously, I've already tuned these. Let's get the camera position. I've already tuned these. So what we've got right there is 5, and over here I've got, wait a minute, did I read that wrong? That says 4. That says 5. Okay, so part of the fun of carburetors. So what we're going to do is back this one off. Now we got 4. Right there, and 4 right there. Okay. Now we're going to put the throttle linkage back on, and our goal is to put on and not have anything change in terms of our fitting, our measurements. So see right there, we've got a change. That's down to 3.5. Well, the linkage was pulling that closed. Let's see, how about over here? There's 4, so we're gonna dial this one open just a smidge to 4. We'll be above 3.5 to 4, 3.5 to 4. All right. So that's part of the fun with multiple carburetor linkage. And now then, what we're doing is we're going to start doing we are now going to adjust the idle mixture screws. And what we do here is screw this in and out until we get the engine to running the best. And so like you screw it in, the engine is going to die, you screw it out, it's going to die, so you get the midpoint. So let's just try it. Yep, I almost died right there. Okay. Bring it out to where it starts running really well, but then you can also hear too much air is being processed, so you want to go back in, and you're going to get your best running. And what I'd like to do is adjust it with my old school analog engine analyzer. So let's get set up for that. Alright, so down here got our engine analyzer. Well, it's not low enough yet, so do this again. Alright. Let's go on. We're on macro, so let's get a little bit closer. Better. Alright, so what we're doing, we're on the high scale right now. So we're reading about 600 RPM. Let's go to the low scale. Alright, so we're idling at about 600, 625. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adjusting the idle mixture screws to get our best idle. Start here on number 1, and you'll screw it in until the idle degrades, and then screw it back out until we get best idle. See, we're dropping idle. Alright, so we back it out. our best idle right there. I'll do the number 2 carburetor same way. Turn to degrade, back it out. And that's our best idle right there. And put on our high scale, blip it a little bit. Now, if we want to change the idle, that's the fun of carburetors. They like to change their idle themselves sometimes. Now, we just screw in the idle set screws the same amount because they're both threaded the same. They both have the same thread pitch, and so you screw them in the same amount, and the idle will go up or down accordingly. So 600 is probably a little low, so let's jack it up. Maybe 750 to 800 maybe. Let's try 750 to 800. Alright, how's that look? 750, give or take. Alright, so now we come back up here. We got a nice idle. Sorry for all this non-professional camera work, but you know, this is not Hollywood. Alright, so now we come back here, we've got our synchrometer. We've adjusted the idle, and let's see what our synchrometer is reading. So we got 5 and change right there, got 5 and a needle width right there, so we are good to go. We got 750 RPM idle. Got some nice carburetors here, I must say. And then let's see, we'll try a hot start. Yep. Damn it! Got some nice carburetors. Like I say, Solexes are French carburetors, so that's your first problem. And I like to say that Solex is the reason fuel injection was invented. People got so mad at carburetors, and Solex is a foreign word for crappy carburetors. But these are good carburetors, and they've got all the machine work done to them. Oh, that reminds me, speaking of which, the second barrel idle mixture screws are closed off. Don't do anything with them. They're blanks. Don't do anything with them. The idle's only on the first barrel of each carburetor. And I think that takes care of it. You've got some really nice carburetors here. Thank you for your patience. I know it took forever, but thank you very much.